Welcome to this special edition of TBI Time. What makes it so special? It's a veteran special. This is for all those veterans who have traumatic brain injuries. At first, I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Lacey, who is a two-time TBI survivor. Then I'm going to be speaking with Sarah and Andrew from the Bath, New York VA Hospital and their special roles in treating patients with traumatic brain injuries. Welcome to the special interview at TBI Time. I'm here with Dr. Lacey. He's an Army veteran. How you doing, Dr.?
Peachy.
Peachy? Good. What branch did you serve in?
Army.
Army? And you got not one but two traumatic brain injuries. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
I'm not going to go too much into depth, but I was in a Humvee, both times actually, in a Humvee, where we hit an IED and the Humvee exploded and everything, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. Were you treated immediately after it happened?
I was. They took me to the I can't remember what it's called now. The aid station.
Okay.
Medical station nearby.
Okay.
I was up in Talafar.
Were you in a coma?
Before I was. They when I was stationed in Germany. Go back. Because sometimes I gotta rewind.
Oh, I understand.
Everything.
I understand.
But yeah, after I had gotten back with everything, I was in Germany. They found me passed out in my truck. I had just got done working out. They said my whole body was crashing. So they took me on a stool, and they were like, all right, well, we got to do something. So they put me in a coma for 2 months so my body could regulate itself and just bring itself back up.
I understand that.
When they finally tried to bring me out of the coma, they wanted to see if I'd breathe on my own. Well, they took the tube out of me, and they said it took 2.5 minutes for me to kick back in breathing.
Okay. Wow. Are you on a lot of medications now, or?
I am, but I think what helps me more is I'm sorry, I might be jumping ahead.
It's all right. It's all right.
Is I go see Dr. Timeson like every couple months, and she helps bring me back in. And
She's through the VA system?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's my psychiatrist up there. Awesome woman.
Are you using any tools or having any difficulties with things you need help with, and you're using tools to help you with incidents, or?
Sometimes, like if I have to read directions on something,
Okay.
I'll read the same sentence like 6, 7 times because my eyes track differently.
Okay.
And that was a result of the TBI.
Are you living with problems on a day-to-day basis with your traumatic brain injury?
I'd say no. My wife would have a different answer than me, but I've been growing with it and had it for so long that now it's real second nature. I have to write stuff down, but I'll forget a lot of stuff. Like
Do you keep like a journal or a daily log?
I don't. I was told that would probably be helpful, but there's a lot of things, military. A lot of the doctors tell us, and we don't really.
Right.
But yeah.
Do you have any advice for people that have a traumatic brain injury, especially our veterans?
If they were downrange, well, even if they weren't downrange, but if they've ever like hit their head hard enough to where it's like, oh, what the hell just happened? You might black out, you might not. You can have a concussion, you might not. I had concussions, and that they said that's what helped facilitate it, and that's what they were looking for in me was a concussion. And they're like, hold on, there's something else different here. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, all the doctors just.
Do you feel that the way you were before your traumatic brain injury and now, do you think there was a huge difference?
I think so. Like I said before, I'd go out and work, use tools, read directions, everything. I wouldn't have a problem. Sometimes my coordination's off, or I might be a little off, or sometimes I'll get dizzy. And that, I think so. And my mom, she would say, yeah, because she was a Vietnam vet.
I understand. All right, well, thank you. I appreciate this very much.
Whoa.
And thank you for watching. Welcome to this episode of TBI Time. This veteran special is presented just for you veterans out there, but it's also for the friends and families of those with traumatic brain injuries. I'm here today at the VA hospital in Bath, New York. I'm sitting here with Sarah.
I'm Sarah Carter. I'm the speech pathologist here at the Bath VA, and I've been affiliated with the VA since 2010.
And Andrew.
So I'm Andrew Scardina. I work here at the Bath VA. I've been here 6 years. I'm the transition and care management and polytrauma case manager, and I'm a 10-year Army combat veteran.
And they're going to be answering some questions about traumatic brain injury and the healthcare system. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Sarah, I'd like to know is, could you give us a definition of what is a traumatic brain injury?
So I'm actually going to defer on that to Andrew. My specialization really focuses on one area of traumatic brain injury, and he can give kind of a more holistic picture.
All right.
Yep. So a traumatic brain injury is a traumatically structural injury or a psychological disruption of brain function as a result of external force. It's either something hitting the head or the brain hitting the inside of the skull, result of a fall or something like that.
Okay. What other causes are there of a traumatic brain injury?
So for causes, there's all sorts of different ways that a traumatic brain injury can occur. There could be sports-related traumatic brain injuries. There could be, specifically in veterans, we find that there are blast fragments hitting the skull, head wounds, motor vehicle accidents where there's whiplash involved, or even serious falls. So a lot of that is an issue with our military members. Normally when something like that occurs, a loss of consciousness occurs, memory loss, and then some neurological deficits.
Okay. In the Veterans Administration, are they seeing a lot of individuals sustain traumatic brain injury?
So the VA has seen an increase since 9/11 in traumatic brain injuries, especially in military members, obviously. DOD, which is the Department of Defense, they estimated that 22% of combat casualties are actually related to TBI, which is a huge increase from Vietnam, which was only 12%. So there's a big jump there. The highest rates of diagnosed TBIs actually were after the call-up in 2007, and a lot of those military members were diagnosed with TBI jumped to 35,000 compared to, and that was in a year, compared to now where 2017 actually was about 17,000. So, the more military members that are deployed, obviously the more injuries occur.
How does a traumatic brain injury affect the brain and the body?
So it affects a person in 3 different ways, typically. First is physical, so this includes headaches, dizziness, balance issues, nausea, fatigue, sleep disorders, light sensitivity, hearing loss, and even numbness in extremities. The second way is usually cognitively, which is issues with attention, concentration, memory, processing speed, control, and judgment. The third way would be more of behavior. So they see a decrease in impulse, they see an increase in depression, anxiety, irritability, and even aggression can be an issue at times.
Okay. Interesting. Are those long-term effects or are they short-term effects?
So typically with a mild TBI, symptoms dissipate within 6 months. The VA rates TBIs in three ways. There's mild, moderate, severe. Typically with moderate and severe, the impact of those symptoms can last up to years and sometimes never even go away. It's more of managing those symptoms.
Interesting. What thought-related changes may occur due to the brain injury?
So as far as thought-related, obviously issues with concentration, memory, those are the big ones. But even in the behavioral, we see a lot of changes with people being more aggressive, being more irritable, without actually an event taking place for them to be feeling that way. So it's just a neurological deficit that occurs because of the TBI.
What physical changes may occur due to a brain injury?
So with the physical, obviously sleeping is a big one, and headaches is the number one issue. So with headaches specifically, obviously it impairs people with TBI to be able to interact in social activities. It impairs employment. So there's a lot of things that can cause issues with that, as far as being balance problems and fatigue and light sensitivity. Being outside a lot is hard. Even driving can be difficult at times.
Just I understand that.
Yeah.
What subtle or severe personality and behavioral changes may occur due to a brain injury?
So the big ones would definitely be like the irritability and even impulse control and changes in judgment. A lot of times people with TBIs have issues with addiction. If they had an issue before, it's actually increased, even because they have a harder time controlling their judgment. So that's a problem, but really the irritability is a big one, because it comes and goes, and there's no event that takes place to make them irritable. They just become irritable because of the effects on the brain.
Why is it so difficult to predict the outcome of a traumatic brain injury?
So predicting a TBI outcome is difficult, because it depends on the person, it depends on the injury, it depends on how long ago it was. Typically, the VA and DoD, Department of Defense, wants to try to diagnose the TBI as soon as an injury occurs. Unfortunately, that just does not happen a lot of times, because if they're in a combat situation, if a serious, like a motor vehicle accident occurs, they don't have time to stop and get checked out if they're in the middle of a combat situation. So a lot of times these TBIs go undiagnosed. Anxiety, a lot of times, as Sarah said, that it can be compacted by other issues as well. But a family member can go directly to that veteran and say, hey, things are, and just encourage them. We're not saying anything is wrong, but maybe you should at least go and talk to somebody and find out what you can do, because you don't want to scare the person off to getting help, or thinking that there's something wrong with them, and not supporting them in the same way. So obviously asking for help is tough, so family members see it first, and they can direct them to get the help that they need.
Sarah, do you have any advice for family members who might notice something?
I would definitely agree with what Andrew mentioned. I think that sometimes, especially in the areas of communication difficulties, whether or not they're related to the cognitive things that I described earlier, that can really influence someone's ability to perceive his or her own weaknesses, as well as process and be receptive to the concerns that a family member may express. So the manner in which a family member approaches the veteran to express concerns is really critical. I think it may also be really worth mentioning that caregivers, active caregivers requiring a lot of time, or caregivers as members of a family, also need a lot of support, and it's okay for them to reach out, especially in the process of trying to help the veteran get the care that he or she needs.
Okay, that sounds good. For the final question, and it's for each of you, is do you have any advice to leave for our viewers?
I would say, my number one advice is getting help as soon as possible. It's easier for any provider to treat a traumatic brain injury. The earlier the better, So coming in when you notice something, or a family member points something out, obviously getting the treatment as early as possible is the key to success with helping to manage those symptoms, and hoping that it dissipates the longer that person deals with it.
I would echo that as well, and I would also encourage veterans to please speak up, to, even if you don't feel like you can express yourself, express all of your concerns the way you want to, please speak up to someone if you're having concerns about a possible TBI, questions about your mood, questions about your health. Please know that there are resources available. We are here to help you. There's a crisis line that you can call. It does not have to be limited to suicide concerns, but if you are in any sort of crisis, you can call the crisis line and press 1 for veterans. and get some answers and reach out so that you know you are not alone. We are here to help.
Thank you guys, I really appreciate this. This is a special message. PTSD is a real thing. If you're one of my brothers and sisters who are currently serving or who is a veteran, please, if you're having suicidal thoughts or just need somebody to talk to, call this phone number and somebody who cares is going to talk to you. And thank you for your service.